and Hugh Jackman. And why do I feel like threatened somehow?
And I think he could really use a man in his life. Hugh is no spring chicken anymore.
For years, Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman have been Hollywood's favorite frenemies. Their playful banter, viral pranks, and hilarious online feuds made them the ultimate duo. So much so that fans started believing the bromance was real. But what if it was all an act? Because behind the scenes, something far more serious has been brewing. The so-called friendship may have been a cover for a ruthless power struggle. And now, it looks like that struggle has reached its breaking point. Hugh Jackman has reportedly cut Ryan Reynolds from Marvel. No warning, no discussion. Just a blindsiding decision that has sent shockwaves through the industry. And if you think Reynolds is taking this quietly, think again. The gloves are off, the battle lines are drawn. What really happened between these two? Why did Jackman suddenly turn his back on Reynolds? And could this feud spell the end of Deadpool as we know it? Let's break it all down, step by step, because this isn't just about Wolverine and Deadpool anymore. This could be the implosion of one of Hollywood's most iconic friendships. Nobody saw it coming. For years, Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds had been hyping up their on-screen reunion, teasing fans, building excitement, and setting the stage for what was supposed to be a legendary
That's funny. That's funny to steal Ryan Gosling's little moment there. I'm willing to commit to a bit. An impassioned kiss?
Back for Wolverine. But then, out of nowhere, Jackman made a brutal decision. He wanted Reynolds out. At first, the entertainment world was in denial. This had to be some kind of misunderstanding, right? Maybe studio politics, maybe scheduling conflicts. But the truth? It was much messier. Jackman wasn't just walking.
They obviously, meaning Justin Baldoni's team, have been going after Ryan Reynolds for defamation, extortion, false light, intentional interference with contractual relations. They presented a very strong argument as to all of those claims, 6 of them.
Looking away. He was actively pushing for Ryan Reynolds to be removed from future Marvel projects. Why? What changed? Well, to understand that, you have to look at what was happening behind the scenes. For years, Deadpool had been Ryan Reynolds' empire. He wasn't just playing the character, he was running the show. He handpicked directors, rewrote scripts, and turned Deadpool into a multi-billion-dollar brand centered entirely around him. And then, Hugh Jackman came back. At first, it seemed like a dream come true. 2 fan-favorite icons teaming up for the ultimate Marvel film. But insiders say it wasn't long before things got tense. Because as much as fans saw them as equals, Jackman didn't see himself as just another actor in Reynolds' playground. He was Wolverine. And the second Jackman stepped back into the claws, he realized something. Deadpool and Wolverine wasn't really about Wolverine at all. It was another Ryan Reynolds production, another extension of his brand, another film where Hugh Jackman would play second fiddle. And that didn't sit well with him. So what did he do? He flexed his power. Jackman may have retired from Wolverine, but make no mistake, he still holds massive influence over Marvel's X-Men future. He's been Wolverine for over 2 decades. He's the one Disney wants to help reintroduce mutants into the MCU. And when he saw Reynolds trying to steer the ship, Jackman reportedly made a game-changing move.
Kind of the first one who said, no, Ryan is problematic here, because I had a source that had said that to me, that Ryan was the person who came onto set and essentially took things over after Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively allegedly were getting along great.
He went directly to Marvel executives and laid down an ultimatum. Either Ryan Reynolds steps back or Wolverine walks. And just like that, the unthinkable happened. Marvel took Jackman's side. They sidelined Reynolds. They froze him out of future X-Men projects. And for the first time in years, Ryan Reynolds, Hollywood's king of PR, the man who built Deadpool from the ground up, wasn't the one calling the shots. And he was furious. Because this wasn't just about a movie anymore. This was personal. Ryan Reynolds isn't just an actor, he's a marketing genius. He built his career on his ability to control the narrative, turning even his biggest failures into internet gold. So when Marvel blindsided him by siding with Jackman, there was no way he was going to sit back and let it happen. He needed to strike back. But instead of going public with his anger, Reynolds did what he does best. He played the long game. It started subtly. A few cryptic social media posts, a couple of jokes about creative differences, a strategic silence on his usually over-the-top Deadpool promotions. At first, fans didn't think much of it. Maybe Reynolds was just playing into the Deadpool-Wolverine banter. But behind the scenes, something much bigger was brewing. Because Reynolds wasn't just upset, he was planning his revenge. And the first step? Rewriting the script. Sources say the original Deadpool and Wolverine story had to be completely reworked at the last minute. And while the official excuse was creative adjustments, insiders reveal that the real reason was something much messier. Reynolds and Jackman couldn't agree on who was the bigger star. Reynolds wanted Deadpool and Wolverine to be a Deadpool movie first and foremost, a continuation of his franchise, with Jackman as the guest star. But Jackman, he wasn't having it. He pushed back, arguing that if he was coming back as Wolverine, it needed to be a Wolverine event, not just another Deadpool comedy with him in the background. And that led to major clashes behind the scenes. At one point, tensions got so high that Reynolds reportedly pitched a shocking idea to Marvel execs, replacing Hugh Jackman altogether. Yes, you read that right. Instead of fighting for Jackman's return, Reynolds allegedly suggested introducing a new Wolverine, someone younger, fresher, and more suited to his Deadpool universe. This wasn't just a power move, it was a message to Jackman. You think Marvel needs you? They don't. Wolverine can be replaced. And that crossed the line. Because if Jackman was having doubts about working with Reynolds before, this was the moment he decided. He was done. Ryan Reynolds wasn't just his playful Hollywood friend anymore. He was a rival. And what Jackman did next? It changed everything. Hugh Jackman had been patient. Too patient. For years, he played along with a friendly rivalry, letting Reynolds poke fun at him, roast him in Deadpool promos, and even take credit for bringing Wolverine back to the big screen. But this was war. When Jackman found out that Reynolds had pitched Marvel on the idea of a new Wolverine, something in him shifted. This wasn't just about a movie anymore. This was about legacy. And if Reynolds thought he could push Jackman out of his own role, the one he spent nearly 2 decades building, he had another thing coming. Jackman wasn't going anywhere. But Reynolds? That was a different story. So Jackman did what he does best. He played his cards in silence. He didn't make jokes. He didn't post cryptic tweets. He didn't need to. Instead, he went straight to the people who actually mattered, Marvel's top executives. And the message he delivered was brutal. If you let Reynolds run the show, Wolverine walks.
I have a lot of questions about Ryan Reynolds' bromances, his various bromances over the years. We've talked about him and Jake Gyllenhaal, and obviously this has been a bromance that has been very much thrown in the public's face.
That was all it took. Because as much as Marvel loved Deadpool, they knew the truth. Wolverine is the bigger character. He's the one with history, the one fans begged to return. Reynolds could joke and meme his way through a franchise, but Jackman was a legend. And that gave him leverage. Within weeks, whispers started circulating that Marvel was changing direction. Jackman was suddenly at the center of the X-Men reboot talks. Marvel wasn't just bringing him back for Deadpool and Wolverine. They were discussing a long-term plan. And Reynolds? He was being phased out. Marvel execs reportedly agreed that they needed a more structured, cinematic future for the X-Men, not just a Ryan Reynolds-led, fourth-wall-breaking comedy universe. Jackman, with his experience and industry weight, was exactly the figure they needed to guide that shift. And Reynolds? For the first time in his career, he was losing control. But here's where it gets even crazier. Jackman wasn't just making moves at Marvel. He was making sure Reynolds never got his hands on Wolverine again. According to insiders, Jackman is working with Marvel to separate his Wolverine storyline from Deadpool entirely. In other words, after Deadpool and Wolverine, there may not be a Deadpool and Wolverine 2. This wasn't just about a power struggle anymore. Jackman was shutting the door on Reynolds' influence over the X-Men once and for all. And Marvel? They were listening.
And you might go, oh, look at his shirt. Oh, look at his head. No! Look at his dead eyes. Straight.
At this point, Reynolds was backed into a corner. His greatest fear, the one thing he never thought would happen, was happening right in front of him. He wasn't just at risk of losing creative control. He was at risk of losing Deadpool. And once that reality set in, he had only one option left: fight back. And that's exactly what he did. Ryan Reynolds had fought for Deadpool from the very beginning. He was the reason the character even made it to the big screen. The leaked test footage? That was him. The R-rated gamble? That was him. The billion-dollar franchise? All him. And now, it was slipping away. Hugh Jackman had outmaneuvered him, Marvel was shifting focus, and for the first time since Deadpool's rise, Reynolds wasn't in control anymore. So what does a man like Ryan Reynolds do when his back is against the wall? He does what he does best. He rewrites the narrative. The desperation play. Reynolds tries to regain control. Almost immediately after the leaks about his Marvel future hit the internet, Reynolds did what he always does. He turned to PR. Social media became a battleground. Tweets, cryptic interviews, and strategically placed leaks painted himself as the underdog, the guy Marvel was trying to push out, despite him being the face of one of its most successful franchises. Whispers started about how the studio was struggling with the X-Men reboot. Suddenly, insiders were revealing that Marvel execs were panicking about Deadpool's future without Reynolds fully in charge. And then, in a move that shocked everyone, Reynolds made his boldest play yet. According to sources, he approached Disney about negotiating a separate deal, one that would let him control Deadpool's future outside of Marvel's larger X-Men plans. That's right, if Marvel didn't want him in the X-Men's main timeline, he'd make sure Deadpool was something they couldn't touch. He wanted a solo universe, a world where Deadpool existed outside of the MCU's rules.
Straight men have dead eyes. There's nothing behind the eyes. And his assessment is that gay men have a twinkle. And it's very, what he's saying is what I was trying to introduce in a more polite way by taking you guys through these like lavender marriages that actually happen in Hollywood. I know they happen for a fact. And there's just something here, this underlying anger that doesn't make sense.
Think of it like Sony's Spider-Man situation, where Tom Holland plays Peter Parker in the MCU, but Sony still has full control over certain Spider-Man movies.
Reynolds was pushing for that kind of setup, a universe where he still had full creative freedom, where Deadpool didn't need to be tied to Marvel's bigger plans. And with Deadpool and Wolverine expected to be a box office monster, he knew he had leverage. Disney didn't want to risk losing one of their biggest R-rated moneymakers. Could Marvel replace Reynolds? The growing rumors. But here's the problem. Marvel isn't the same company it was 5 years ago. After the struggles of Phase 4, Disney is looking for stability, not more chaos. And with Hugh Jackman proving that he still has a tight grip on the X-Men's future, there are now real whispers that Marvel might go in an even more drastic direction. What if they recast Deadpool? Sounds crazy, right? But think about it. Disney is already trying to course-correct the MCU, and if executives decide Reynolds is becoming too difficult to work with, they could reboot Deadpool entirely. Maybe not immediately, maybe not in the next film, but once they bring in a new Wolverine? Why not introduce a new Deadpool too? It wouldn't be the first time Marvel replaced a major character. And Reynolds knows this, which is why, for the first time in his career, he's actually on the defensive. Jackman has proven that he can walk away and come back whenever he wants. But Reynolds, if Deadpool is taken from him,
factually speaking, no judgment from me, but Hugh Jackman has been plagued with rumors of homosexuality throughout his entire career. It has been speculated for a host of reasons, some fair, some not.
What's left? Final thoughts. The end of the Reynolds-Jackman era. What started as a playful Hollywood friendship has evolved into one of the biggest behind-the-scenes power struggles in Marvel history. Ryan Reynolds thought he had full control over Deadpool, but Hugh Jackman reminded him that legacy matters more than personality. Jackman holds the power. Marvel is listening to him. And Reynolds? He's fighting for survival. This isn't just a personal feud anymore. This is a battle for the future of the MCU. And right now, Jackman is winning.